keep it real. I've been doing what I feel. I've been out here trying to kill every beat. I know I will. Everything I'm working on. Every night another song. They've been quiet all along. They gon' notice when I'm gone.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste our time then. Killing the game and I gotta go ask anybody, they all heard about it. They know when the kid and he's spitting it, know when he getting it, bit and I get in my way. Got this, I like do whatever I say, cause I could go put you on blast. People been mad at me cause I don't follow them back. I'm laughing cause that is so whack. Why they all trying to act like they been bossing when really their bosses been bossing them up? Nobody ever been telling me what I would do when I keep in the cash for the shit out of luck. I want it more, now I get what I wish. Upgrading now with some pants that I whip. Making 6 figures, don't talk about it. Money ain't shit, it's about how you think. Tired of people who making excuses, then they complain about losing. Tell me about what you been doing, tell me about how you been moving. You ain't got nothing to prove then. I did it all on my own, they looking like all of my clones. I don't be following trends, fuck all the popular clothes. You faking and everyone knows, I just be keeping it real. They thinking that I have to go sign a deal, but really the people just found an appeal. I'm in my own lane and I'm steering the wheel, ayy.
It's funny how it goes, funny how it goes. Working every night till the sunrise.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've asked for it. We are back once again. No false finish. Season 6 series finale. It has been one hell of a ride from season 1.
This is the first no false in 4K.
Is it the first one?
It's first one.
First no false in 4K. You know, we've found out a lot about the XCW wrestlers, XCW history over time. We've had the likes of, obviously, yourself being essentially a co-host. We've had Brendan Stickle. We've had Emily Moore. We've had Justin Parsley, you know.
Austin Chaos.
Some might say that was the, the catalyst, along with, the passing of our good friend Benji, to bring Justin to XCW.
We even had Benji on here.
Yeah, we had Benji. We got Corey Lee. But season 6 is not going to be taken lightly.
It's not your average season.
We got a plethora of people that have been eager to be on this show. And since it is a series finale, we have history-making 15 episodes. So this might be the only time you see Fletch this season. So we're going to get right into it with probably a question that's going to hit home both of us, kicking it off hard. How has life been without Benji?
Well, I mean, if you look back in 20 years, there wasn't life in XCW without him. So, I feel like I've done a pretty good job of continuing to make everything progress without him. And I also think that everyone's done a really good job of still defending his honor as we go. And I'll be honest, like, he comes up in so many conversations and he's still pictures everywhere and t-shirts and all this stuff. It almost feels like he's not even gone. But I know most people say that it gets easier with time. The longer the company goes, I think the harder it's going to be to try to keep that legacy alive, and that's when it's going to get harder for me.
Yeah, I think my situation's a little bit different. You knew Benji longer than I did.
Yeah.
But when we first found out about what he was going through when he went to the hospital,
and I was in Dallas, and I was hopeless.
I don't want to say like we made peace with it, but towards the end of like that week or like that week and a half, like at one point when they had told us that they were going to pull the plug and everything,
with me and Dylan standing in the room when they said it.
I don't want to say we made peace, but we were headed in that direction.
Yeah, like we kind of had a heads up versus everybody else on the roster. Like, we knew everything ahead of time. So.
And then they pulled the plug and he got better.
Yeah.
So like having one of your best friends of over 20 years dying, you make peace and then you get that little glimmer of hope. And then I had that little glimmer of hope for a second, and then my cousin died. And my cousin is just as important as you, as Benji, as Ryan, because my cousin was always the one that would, if I was a little iffy about something, he'd be like, come on, pussy, go do it. Or like, he was the one that was always pushing me out the door. Like,
that's what Benji was buying toys.
Yeah. Before I wrestled with Roddy, everybody knows Roddy powerbombed me on concrete because Roddy didn't like me, trying to scare me away from HCW. When I first started, my cousin was the one that's like, hey, man, check these guys out over there at Loper. So watch them. Like, he's like, you love wrestling, why don't you go do that? I'm like, nah, it's not my thing. He's like, go do it. So my cousin pushed me out the door. Me and my cousin were inseparable growing up. Eventually, we both went down different paths. He went down a path, and he became a criminal eventually, but turned his life around later on, and then ultimately he died. I still don't even know like the reason for it. Like, I never even knew. And then 3 hours after I get that news, I get the news, Benji died. So talk about being hit with a ton of bricks.
Yeah, me and you talking at 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in almost downtown Dallas, and it's like completely hopeless. He's here, and once the plug was pulled, like they waited to make that decision once I was back, and so that was pretty cool. And then XCW was created by myself, Benji, and Dylan. And so for the fact that at one point, like the weekend before, we just got an opportunity where me and Benji and Dylan were just in the room together. So it was, I've never experienced anything like it in 20 years of running this company. I mean, we've lost others, but nothing like this.
It's definitely a very gut-wrenching moment because like people like you're married, it's like you can come home. Even though you and Emily are, you can come over, you can talk to Emily if you got something going on. Andy, go home, he got Michaela, Roddy's got Caitlin, and et cetera, et cetera. When I go home, I don't have nobody to talk to. So I'm there by myself, sit there, think about things. So probably not the best of situations. Like, there's a couple times I reached out to you while I was at work. I just talked to you while I was at work or whatever, text message and stuff. And even with the passing of Benji, like I wanted to do the memorial show, but like I said, honoring my word to Brogan, I'm like, we should ask Brogan. And I knew Brogan wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But I think, as you said, we have honored Benji quite a bit.
And there's more to come.
Yeah. So, what do you think the atmosphere, like we talk about Benji being gone, and we've obviously got a lot more people in the roster now. What do you think the atmosphere is in the locker room?
Well, I think, and that's part of the reason why I say that it's going to be kind of hard to live on that legacy. Like, we do have so many guys. Like, even Hunter Houken comes in. Like, Hunter Houken started the show that Benji last competed on. So, like, they missed each other. Onyx was training while Benji was here, but they didn't get any of that real interaction. Jackson was coming into the company right as Benji was getting sick. So like, and it was the same with SAT and a lot of these guys. So like, they didn't get a lot of time with him like we did, and so that's what I mean by like that atmosphere is different. Like, I want to try to find a way to continue to memorialize him with this next generation that didn't get the opportunity to meet him, and I think that's going to be the hardest thing going forward.
Yeah, even before all those new guys, like you sent Benji out like to get me to recruit me to XCW. So
yeah,
like,
Benji and Roddy, and then you later were like the big components of trying to recruit people to XCW.
And one more question before we take our first commercial break. Who came up with the finish for the main event, the memorial show for Benji? Do you remember how I came up with it?
No.
It was me. You called me. You were the one that called me.
I've just playing 300 finishes since then. So
you were actually, I just got to work and you called me on the phone, and I could tell like you were holding back tears or whatever. I could tell. And as soon as because I don't talk on the phone. I fucking hate talking on the phone.
Yeah, we talked for like
4.5 hours on your way to Dallas.
Yeah.
with ACT, Katie, and everybody in the car. We're just talking for 4.5 hours on the phone. But you called me, and I knew as soon as you called me, and I could tell by the way you sounded, and you mentioned what happened to Benji in the memorial show. I'm like, I want to lose and I want to tap out. And it's kind of a moment that will live on, I think, for a long time because it was something I'd never done in XCW.
And you guys argued about it all the time.
And me and Benji argued about it all the time. Me and Benji had a submit. I don't know if it was like a submission match. Pretty sure it was something like that. And I'm like, I'm not tapping out, Benji. He's like, oh, you did tap out. I'm like, I'm not tapping out. But he's like, oh, you did. And then ultimately, I wanted to pay that forward because I never tapped out in the match. It was, the referee that passed out. But I wanted to pay that forward to give that to Benji. And the only time I ever tapped out, I got to tap out to you, celebrating our friend, and in one of his finishers, the sharpshooter.
Yeah.
And it paid tribute to the Benji loved teaming up with LOL. Like it was a mishmash of a tag team we never expected.
The movement.
But we did the grab the ropes and all 4 ropes, and then you pulled me back, and then finally the tap out. I think it paid a good tribute to Benji. With that, we're gonna go to our first commercial break. More when we come back.
Now playing on XC Wrestling 1.
Do it now.
This is my show now. I want to tell this story how I want to tell it.
Do it now.
Of the ring right there. One time I wasn't here the ring. And had an ankle on McVeigh the spy. Come on, he's got the rope. 1. Acid lock, ladies and gentlemen. He's got the ropes. 1, 2. Oh, he's pulling it back. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Jones has never tapped out before.
1, 2, 3.
Damn. And I want that streak stands. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hope I see a Fletch again. You might. You never know. You never know.
I know what you want me to do.
He already gave him the acid slam, already gave him the acid lock.
You know what you want me to do.
He's gonna give him the sharpshooter.
You're not the boat!
I would have to agree. Hazard, that's what it looks like.
You're not the boat!
I'm scared that me and him changed our life way too much. Well, I just said Chris Jones has never tapped, ladies and gentlemen. Could the 666 be the first to do it? It wasn't. Damn. Ladies and gentlemen! What the hell just happened? I've never before seen in all the years of XCW. Chris Jones has never tapped.
And as you see from that footage, tapping that 1, 2, 3, and doing Benji's honor well.
Which is not really my thing either. So
yeah. It's I'm never just involved with like people like I've wrestled Benji a lot, so I was always involved with like submissions, but like none of the finishes just ever revolved around that. The only time I should have tapped out was when we did the pass out spot. But interesting question. I already know your answer to this one. But if you could go back to 2003 when you decided to start XCW with Dylan and Benji, if you had the opportunity to not start XCW, and the same question for me, but if I go back to 2004 and choose not to start wrestling in XCW, do you think you would make the other decision of not starting XCW than myself not wrestling for XCW? Do you think there's any point that you would change that?
No, I don't. I was so headstrong at the time. of being a part of something and finding a way to get my creative out there. I was kind of outgrowing doing wrestling figure shows, so I had to find a way to be creative otherwise, and that was the time. And that was I mean, I had two super creative people when it comes to wrestling, and Dylan and Benji. Like, it was gonna happen one way or the other, and so.
Now don't underestimate this man's figure show. When I tell you the Undertaker would walk down this big long fucking table with like 40 Q-tips all lit on fire, like this man was on it. Music, lights, everything. I sat there and watched this man do these figure shows. So
you want to know something that's interesting?
Yeah, tell me.
Well, if anyone on here watches our All Access channel, we have JWF.
Yeah.
And so since I want to say probably 2018, 17, myself and Jacoby always had a figure show.
Yeah.
And we just, called it WWE or TNA or whatever the hell we wanted to. But as we got older, he wanted to make it his own brand, and like he even started doing figure shows with ACT, Jaden.
Yeah.
So they had the Jaden Wrestling Federation, the Jacoby Wrestling Federation, and JWF was born. And now, like, he's almost legit created an actual, like, company in JWF. And it all came based off of us doing wrestling figure shows. And
there's one day you had the door locked, and we had to let Parsley in here for something. I forget. I think his paint was in there or something when he painted his face when we were doing the Parsley and Venom stuff. And Parsley was coming out of the bathroom, and I stuck my hand up to stop him. And he's like, "What?" I said, "Shh." And we peeked around the corner, and you got Jacoby in here, and Micah, Jamie's kid, and I think a couple Braxton.
Yeah.
And they were shooting a wrestling pro on here. I'm like, maybe I need to say some of that shit. As for me, my XCW time has been one hell of a ride. Positive and negative. When I tell you, God, I was a fuck boy in 2004, 2005. I was. People talk about Hayden and Corey Lee's ego. You have seen nothing till you met Chris Jones in 2004 or 5. To the point like where we'd almost fight after every show. It was that bad.
Even when we went just had football games.
Yeah.
You fight with Ryan, and
I was always very competitive. I mean, the people I played with, you kind of had to be back then.
Yeah.
But like, not even just like us in wrestling. Like, I've dumped several relationships to the curb for XCW. I've dating this one girl. You're like, "Hey, Chris, we're gonna go have a practice or whatever. You care?" When I was dating Kelly, you pulled through the alley in the back of Roddy's shitty ass pickup truck. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be there in a minute." So, I left. I didn't talk to her for 2 weeks. And then I dumped her on speakerphone on video camera in front of everybody. So, I mean...
Yeah, I think that's kind of a lost art in XCW right now. Like...
Dumping people on speakerphone?
No, maybe that too. No, I mean, like... That type of mentality. Like... We dedicated everything to making this show happen and make it... And just continue to build it and build it and build it. And I feel like... It gets pushed to the wayside, and I know that we're all adults now, so there's more responsibility now than what we had when we started. But like,
I had a lot more girlfriends back then.
It's a lost art. I feel like there's not brand loyalty anymore.
I wanted to wrestle more than you back then. I was trying to wrestle two. We had a period of time where we wrestled 3 shows a week.
But there's not really brand loyalty. There's a lot of jumping around. Tommy and Patrick works Evo, and then we got Jackson who works in 375 different companies, and then we've got JJ and Jay work FWL, and so like there's a lot of jumping, and like I think that's changed a little bit of the dynamic of XCW.
Yeah,
and then like I also don't feel like there's enough commitment. Like if we were hurt, we would find another way to stay in the show. We may not compete on the card, but we would find other things to do. Or, we got burnt out. We would plan what's next and get through it. So like the camaraderie was different than it is now, and I feel like it's a harder atmosphere now to try to keep that momentum alive sometimes.
But to answer the question,
and it still has it still has that family feel though, and that's the cool part. Like we still have that. I just wish that it was more of like being able to. I mean, and I can't say that I don't depend on the guys that we have for the most part. Everybody's here every single week, no questions asked, and that's with a lot of them traveling far and wide. But like, I miss having that brand loyalty that you would do absolutely anything to make sure that the show is taken care of, and that like you push through everything and anything to make sure the show happens. Hazard skipped half of his grandma's funeral just to come and have a fist fight with Void. So, I mean,
you mentioned the family aspect, and I think ultimately for me, that's why my answer would be no. I don't think I would go a different route. I think I would still start at XCW knowing everything that I know now. All the girls I dumped, friends, the few girlfriends that dumped me, everything. That family aspect, because there was a period of time, well, my mom was never worth anything. My real mom, biological mom. My stepmom, totally different. She's a fucking trooper. She's the world. And then my dad got in trouble. So there's a period of time where I was practically homeless in high school. Like no kid should have to go through essentially being homeless. And like there was a time when I was staying with you at your grandma's house, and like your mom was feeding me, your grandma would feed me, like even Ryan's mom, she'd invite me over. The family aspect, I think, is a big thing that keeps my answer. I think I would stick around. Next question. Being somebody that knows you very well, your three primary hobbies are wrestling, music. Third one, not quite a hobby, but we're gonna have to go with family. Mine, obviously, would be video games, Magic the Gathering, and wrestling. This person wants us to rate those in order of our favorite to least favorite.
Boy, I think you did mine. I mean, it's tough to say. Like, I do a lot of the things I do in my personal life for my family, and wrestling usually comes secondary to that. It's not like I'm going to take off work to. And I guess I can't say that either. I'll cut corners on my schedule to make things for wrestling work, but I don't like purposely not make money that I can't take care of my family just to do something for wrestling. Yeah. So that's kind of tough. It's like almost two different categories, but I mean, you almost nailed it, right?
I figured. Mine's a little bit different. I think video games will always be number one to me. Always has. Even the times we were wrestling 3 times a week, just video games plays a big part in like the person that I am. Like, I would say I've pulled parts of Chris Jones characters throughout the years, like stuff I've said. Probably have pulled those from some video game I've played. Like the competitiveness of Chris Jones comes from playing fucking Madden with my cousin that passed away, my Uncle Tim. Like, the competitiveness I have with my Uncle Tim all the time. That plays my dad on XCW.
I just seen Tim the other day. Walking in there in his cane, I almost gave him a stunner.
You should have gave him a stunner. He sold it too, right there in the middle of Walmart.
It was Speedway.
Okay.
He would have sold it though.
So, one thing we don't like about the new generation of XCW wrestlers, and when I say new generation, I'm not talking about the Haydens, the Blackhearts, because they've been wrestling for a long time as well. Now, new generation, I think this person means like, the ACTs, the Bradys, the Brogans, the Evans, those types of people. What do you think is one thing you don't like about the newer generation? Mine, I'll go ahead and say mine because I talked about this plenty with Brady specifically, is like the talk about giving people receipts all the time. Like, it might just be me, but that's just one thing that bothers me a lot because I've wrestled since 1996. Granted, the earlier years were just beating the shit out of each other, but the entire time I've ever wrestled in XCW, I've given 2 receipts. I've been wrestling since 2004. Those 2 receipts were to Gurky when he did the 3D and he almost broke my neck. I remember that when I was like a circus clown. I beat the fuck out of him with that kendo stick. And then Tommy, I don't remember what Tommy did. He's like, I know I got it coming. So I was lighting Tommy up with the chops one time, and I got Tommy real good. I chopped him right in the fucking throat.
Although you probably should have given one to Milf Hunter.
I should have given one to Milf Hunter. I should have gave a couple to you when you got concussed and threw that fucking trash can at me. Roddy throwing that barbed wire chair in my face. There's a lot of people that deserve receipts, but I think there's a point when it comes, like, you should give them that receipt. Like, they just openly talk about this. Yeah, I fucking hauled off and just punched him in the back of the head, you know?
I think mine is, I could see Brogan as a potential to, like, be able to run the show in my absence. Or Brady to run the show in my absence. Even Brendan would have categorized in there. You know, being able to call the shots if I was unavailable.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest issue with them is that they overthink so much and they're so scatterbrained in what they're trying to do. I feel like that there's so many things they want to do, and they really do, like, wholeheartedly want to push everything to the next level. You know, like Hunter Halkin is the perfect example of this. Wholeheartedly wants to make everything better in XCW and wants to participate in these pods and do these, do this. But when it really comes down to the wire, you can't count on them. Like, they'll commit to something and I will make it happen, and then they don't come through. Like, we were supposed to begin a podcast with Brady and with Hunter, and we had a plan one Sunday. They were going to come over at noon, 1, whatever time it was. We were going to sit down. We were going to map out what this was going to look like, and, you know, pretty much come up with what we were going to do next. And I ended up not seeing either of them that day.
I can see that. What's one thing we didn't like about this year? And obviously we didn't like the Benji passing away, so that's kind of off the table. I don't know why it bothered me, but one thing I didn't like about this season so far, obviously the season's not completely over as of recording, is doing a rundown about the memorial show for Benji kind of bothered me. I'm not sure why. Like, I think the memorial show, I guess, should have, like, just been its own monster, and, like...
I'll tell you, one of the main reasons we did it is to find a way to keep Justin a part of everything. Because you never really had the opportunity to have Justin a part of anything prior to that.
Yeah.
Other than No False. So, like, it was an opportunity for him to talk and for him to build what's next, because we already had a plan in place for that. And no one in XW had ever heard from him before.
Yeah. And
so it gave us a unique opportunity to do so. That being the main reason that we did it. Beyond that, like, I probably wouldn't have. We almost didn't even for Shot in the Dark, because they're kind of specialty shows. Yeah. But when you see certain opportunities to have somebody special a part of something, you sometimes got to take the bait. So
what's one thing you didn't like about this season? Probably ring troubles, huh?
Well,
especially after yesterday.
That's getting there, yeah. I think, and this isn't just this season, I guess. It's been the last 3. 2020, 21, 22. So, I feel like we had, if you would have asked me, like, especially in, like, 2020, and, like, you can even add the few people that we've had since then, the ACTs and so on. I think this group of XCW has been the best group, you know, when it comes to putting on a show, putting on an event. I think this is the best core group of guys we've ever had in XCW, period. And that's going back to, like, 2012, where we had the most banger year ever, or, you know, even 13 or 14 when we did the EBW, like, amazing year. But I feel like especially 2020, like, everybody came together so much, and we had such a good core of who was there, like we're totally unstoppable. But then we had Trinity bow out for a little bit, and we had Blackheart bow out for a little bit. We had Deacon bow out. We had SAT bow out. We have Hayden Vex bow out. And I want the consistency, even if it's in a different role. And that's why I used Trinity in a different role once she returned. Instead of being in a ring announcing position, I put her in a manager's position.
Yeah.
It was to keep the ball rolling. And that inconsistency to me sucks. Like, we could find something else for these people to do if they can't do what they were doing. And trying to, and it's even more recently come up with Justin. You know, like, we had a plan in place. We had all these big plans. We had everything mapped out. And, I mean, it's cool. Like, most of them, minus Justin, finished out their obligation. You know, SAT went to SummerMania like he promised. You know, Hayden went to All in Harvest like he promised. Blackheart didn't, and that was a big stiff fucking kick in the dick. And like that, the inconsistency I think is hurt, and the most inconsistent is being able to provide the shows in a timely manner. Because we've ruined sponsorships, we've ruined, you know, being able to tell certain stories because the shows are not going out timely. So inconsistency, I think, is the biggest issue.
One last question before our second break. A lot of people say Brogan has screwed the pooch, so to speak, since putting him over at SummerMania. And I believe the question that they're trying to get, because I had to reword it, is if we could go back and put somebody else in that SummerMania spot, where it was them versus Chris Jones in that death match to elevate them, do you think we would choose Brogan again? Or do you think we should put somebody else in that spot? And then what did I say to Brogan after the match?
It's all about timing. And I don't think anybody else would have fit in that. So, like, Brady was there.
Yeah.
But I already had, we already kind of had an inkling that Brady was going to be working with Hazard a year in advance.
Yeah.
And so, like, we already knew that was coming. And it was like, well, with that coming, it's not necessary. And it's all about timing. Like, at the time, he was the best candidate for that spot. And, like, when you looked at the card overall, you know, everything that I've built the last 3 seasons on was Brady, Brogan, Evan, Hayden. So Hayden was made star from day one. No one has ever had the run that he had. Ever. Except maybe you. No one. I literally built XCW around Hayden Vex.
Yeah.
So, and I've never done that for anyone else. So, like, he didn't need that position. But it was like, we need to make new stars. And we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
Jimmy is the sacrificial lamb right now for ACT. And it's fucking working.
Yeah. It was a hell of a match yesterday.
Yeah. Like, ACT totally bombed in his tag. Like, we seen that glimmer of hope going into Knowledge is Power. And we tried to base that off of his character, and then once that fell short and it was lackluster, we put him back in the singles. He skyrocketed all over again. And like that, and I know that there's been some people already that I've heard have said that I'm only pushing ACT because he's my friend. And that's bullshit. Because me and Hayden barely knew each other.
Yeah.
We met maybe 3 times before his debut. And I put the rocket on him and made him the star the last 3 seasons.
You and I weren't friends in 2004, and I be your best friend for the Power title, won Extreme King, and won the world title. And we were friends.
And it's the same with ACT. Just because we went to Manias together and we do hang out, that dude's busting his ass.
Yeah. I mean, you haven't given him a world title yet.
No, I haven't. I made him cash in and lose Money in the Bank. The dude's busting his ass, and he's proven to, like, when I gave him the hardcore title, people were like, nah, because no one looked at him as that hardcore guy.
Yeah.
People didn't even remember the fact that him and Brendan are out there beating the shit out of each other at SummerMania 15.
Yeah.
But I knew that he could do it.
Yeah.
And then the perfect storm of James Cerebral. You could put James Cerebral with a box of dry dog turds, and he's gonna make it work. So,
or he's gonna throw it at Colton.
Yeah, that too. So, like, we went to Tennessee. We worked for UWA and CBW, and there we had Brady work as a heel, and ACT work as a baby, and ultimately it led to where we are right now. Like, we always had a plan in place that we were going to turn Brady heel.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of when and how, what made sense.
Yeah.
There was never anything in the cards for ACT to turn heel. Or to turn baby.
Yeah.
He was going to be a heel. As a matter of fact, almost all season, the plan was for ACT to win Money in the Bank again. Cash in, lose, win the title back. Talk about fucking heat.
Yeah. I remember the few things we discussed at the beginning of the year, yeah.
And ultimately, it was just the right time to turn him baby.
Not even his own girlfriend thinks he could have been a baby face.
And it works, and it's working, and it's getting over like crazy.
Yeah. Pretty much same sentiment as Josh here. I wouldn't want to replace Brogan with anybody. I felt, if you ask me now, who deserves a match with you? Nobody. You asked me before 2021 season, like the beginning of the season, who deserves a match with you? Brogan. Because we had it mapped out. It was pretty much going to be, I think we had, like, Brogan wasn't going to win in our feud. And there was going to be a thing with Shelbyville Heat reuniting, and we were going to get the beat down, and Brogan was going to cash in, and I think that's how he was going to win. And then we were going to reunite as Shelbyville Heat for a while. And ultimately, that's not what happened. But to pay it forward, and I think Brogan was the perfect person, wanting to kill the conspiracy. Everything just kind of, it's one of those things where everything just falls into place. And it was perfect. And as for what I told Brogan after the match, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to ask Brogan yourself. But after that, more when we come back from this commercial break.
I'm crossing out names, and no one is safe. I'll leave a rose on your grave. It's the Dozen Grenade. Here we go again, gunning straight for the top, from the belly of the beast, 'cause we're straight off the block. Yeah, compare me to none, 'cause I got the heart of a champion.
not that bad. Oh, yeah! The thumbtack
And we're back. Now, we talked about the newer generation and some of the less things we like. What is one thing we like about the new generation? For me specifically, well, I'll give you a second to think. For me specifically, I learned it after I wrestled Brogan at SummerMania. Their willingness to learn. And what I mean by that is, I hate planning spots. You know me, I don't like to plan spots. You don't really plan that many spots either very often. I said, Brogan's like, so what do you want to do? And we didn't tell Brogan he was winning the match until his music hit, and you're like, he's like, Brogan's going over with the last call. And like, we knew the last call for sure in the match was going to be on the exposed wood, but we didn't know when. And that was like the only kind of planned thing, but it was the last fucking second with Brogan. Wrestling Brogan, he's like, well, what do you want to do? I said, I don't want to plan too much. Like,
I want to feel it out.
Yeah. Obviously, I want to do like a flaming table. We talked about the weed eater stuff ahead of time because I've been wanting to do the weed eater for fucking my entire fucking career. But I said, I don't care as long as we're in the right camera angles. And he's like, well, what do you mean by the right camera angles? Well, I said, if you give me a bulldog, make sure it's in the corner where the camera's going to see my facial expression. If I'm going to give you a frog splash, I'm going to do it on the side that has the fence. That way, as I'm flying, they see my facial expression. And like, all the stuff we did with Ladder in the Ring was on the side by the camera. It wasn't opposite side.
It wasn't by the stage.
I care about, I'm so ingrained that I want to make the people in the audience happy and make the people watching on YouTube happy. And I'm pretty good at being able to give the people what they want. Like, all the dives are to the fans. Like, I could dive right in front of the announce table, but there's a chance the cameraman could miss it. So, you dive over by the fans, they get that good angle. So, like, their willingness to learn. And Brady's the same way. Like, I've talked to Brady. He asked me a couple questions how to do certain things to make sure the camera gets the right shot. That's what I enjoy about the new guys. Their willingness to learn.
Yeah, that's mine. Is the fact that they're so eager to put out the absolute best thing that they possibly can. Like, that's, and they're all so willing, especially, like I said, a lot of the traveling guys. Blackhearts, the Haydens, the Deacons, the Trinities, the JJs, the Jays, the Jacksons, the DJs, the everybody. When you think of XCW back in the day, like, it was all Shelbyville guys. Like, everybody lived within 10 minutes of each other.
Or we all stayed the night at your house.
And now we've got guys that are coming 3 hours.
Yeah.
I've got a guy that's going to be working a show here in a couple weeks that's coming 12 hours.
Yeah.
So, the willingness and the eagerness to do whatever they can to put on the best show, to me, like, we didn't have that dedication to go to that length to get your name and your brand out there. And that's one of the things that's really cool about the new generation. They're super eager to get it all out there.
Best internet or sideshows for XCW? I mean, you might think it's just because my show, but I'm going with No False Finish. It was a show I never wanted to do. I seen you and Roddy do I told you about this before, seen you and Roddy do the controversial, I think it was just a Facebook show or something like that. You already did the controversial interview with Josh Fletcher. I'm like, Roddy could do this and he could do this with everybody. And they're like, how about you do this? And I'm like, oh, fuck. I hate coming up with ideas for Josh. And ultimately, I'm here. I'm doing it. Season 6. But No False Finish. I think getting to see people's personal sides, finding like some insight into people's lives, and like what they think on the wrestling front. Like, I think No False is my favorite show.
I think mine's probably
Showtime?
I really enjoy Showtime. I feel like it's gotten a little off the rails in the last few episodes that's come out. Like, it just became like we watched the very first episode and it was very like show oriented, but it was still like their personal,
Yes.
you know, and it has become more about dick jokes, which I know is just our casual locker room. But I feel like some people kind of put on for the cam versus just being natural, like a normal show. And that's what the Showtime is about, is getting that natural feel. And I feel like sometimes it's pushed a little too much because there's a camera in your face.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, hardy, reach around, you know. And so, but ultimately, I feel like that shows, because if you watch the early few episodes of Showtime, like, there's things that were in that show that I didn't even know happened, and it didn't even feel like I was there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even feel like I lived it. So, that's probably one of my favorites.
Showtime's probably my second favorite.
But Trinity's killing it with Sometime Later as well.
Yeah. We talked about a future potential episode for me yesterday, actually. We're talking about it yesterday. Now we got to get to some nitty gritty here. You, Patrick O'Reilly, recently had can't really call it backstage, but you recently had a little spat where ultimately you two end up kind of getting into a fight. This person asked, do you, as XCW owner, think that another path should have been taken to defuse that situation, and do you think you should have been more as a leader and tried to not let it escalate to that level? Because obviously, before you answer, we have a lot of hotheads in XCW. It's not, everybody asks about Fletch's short fuse. It's not just Fletch. Patrick can be a hothead. Tommy can be a hothead.
He's the one that escalated the situation. So, I mean, my show, my call.
Yeah.
He is the one that wanted to scream and raise his voice. That's an issue. So, that's where it went. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I don't know, me in my older age, because I used to be extremely confrontational all the time. I think the last time I was super confrontational was I was ready to fight Blackheart and JJ Kelty over the Super King. I'm sure you remember that Halloween Havoc.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a respect issue to me. So I wasn't in the situation, so I can't answer for him. But it should have never got to that level. I don't know how old Patrick is. Like, he's older than us.
Oh, he'll tell you straight up. He's like, yeah, I have a huge issue with my anger. So he'll tell you.
Cooler head should always be prevailed. We're supposed to be professionals. We're here.
You gotta admit, in the last few years, like, literally, the company, like, be in shambles, like, buildings burning around me, and I'm like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So that's one of my very few issues.
Yeah. Interesting question here. You're married. I was almost married.
Yeah, sometimes, unfortunately.
I was almost married. Think this person was trying to get to ask. They said, how far was I from getting married, and why didn't you actually have a ceremony, and who would have been our best man?
Well, it's pretty simple. Emily is, I'm sure as a lot of people can tell, she's not a very social person. She's also doesn't have a lot of family. I mean, her dad overdosed. He was alive for like when we got married, but like he wasn't super supportive. He had his troubles, his drug problems. Emily and her mom don't really hang out, get along. So she doesn't have a lot of family. And what family she does have, she doesn't really associate with. She associates more with mine. She's not a very social person. She doesn't like the spotlight being on her.
Yeah.
And so it was ultimately her decision. She's like, I want you to marry me, but I don't want eyes on me. And so it was totally her decision.
All right. And who would have been your best man for the second part if you did have a ceremony?
Well, I was going to have more than one. I was going to have two. It was going to be you and Roddy, and then one of my groomsmen would be Benji and Ryan.
As for me, a little different route. We were about 6 months away. Called several places, setting up to locations and stuff like that. And ultimately, we just started fighting all the time. And I've never been one that was eager to express my feelings to people and stuff like that. And that was one thing that in the entire relationship with Allison, I was never good at. And like everybody always thought we'd be together forever. And like I was just never good at expressing what I needed to express in the right way. And
still not too late.
So like we had picked all the music and stuff like that. I was going to talk to my best man, which I'll reveal in a second. I was getting ready to start looking for tuxes. She already started looking for dresses, and we had already picked music. And I was going to do I want to do some funny ass choreographed dance because you just know that's just me. And it was going to be you, obviously, because I don't think anybody would be able to choreograph some type of weird ass fucking dance with me. And you were the one that picked me up when I got out of lockup and stuff like that. So it's only suitable that it would have been you. And just it's only suitable if I were to have a dance, the groom danced with his mother, the bride danced with her dad. It's only suitable that I believe I would dance with my stepmom versus my real mom.
Right.
My stepmom, trooper since I was 3. Day one, her and my dad got divorced. Didn't matter.
I would have danced with Rita.
She used to get wild with us when we partied.
Oh, I know.
But I think that's something my stepmom would deserve. So interesting subjects. Interesting question here. Do we have any feelings for ex-girlfriends?
No. No, not really, no.
As for me, different answer. I do.
I mean, Emily's my ex-girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
A couple times.
I do. They were, one of them was extremely big parts. It's no question that, there'd still be a little something there. And then, dating, their high school sweetheart, you've been dating Emily for 1,000 years, so I'm not dating my high school sweetheart or married to her, so yeah, I think there's a couple ex-girlfriends I do have feelings for.
There is one of those what ifs,
Yeah.
what if something more could have come of it,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that's really a feeling. It's just kind of how different would life have been if it could have been her. But
I probably would not get back with either of them. Future has a different trajectory than what my past does. So, who is someone that we looked up to, or someone that is one of our heroes? I said it before. I don't remember where I said it at, but I think it was compete until defeat. I think it was one of the questions. And one of the questions who's someone you look up to?
is yours and mine the same answer?
No.
Is it my dad?
No. It's a good option. I was gonna say someone I look up to now, a viable real life person is my brother. My brother was super immature. You think you hated Chris Jones, my brother, the worst of Chris Jones could rub off on Chase. And he was cocky, all that stuff all the time. And he has a family, he's got a nice house, nice job. He makes more on commissions at his job than he does on his paycheck. So my brother has got life figured out. Where I'm still in an apartment. I got my license in the vehicle, but it's not I'm not where I want to be or where I think I need to be. As for anybody else, Michael Jordan's obviously my hero. So
I've never really thought about it. I've never really looked at anyone as a true hero or anything like that. So I don't know. I guess maybe that mentality just comes because you see it. I'm sure you see it. I'm out there running the show, calling all those shots. Once the show's over and that ring is down, I'm no longer in charge. But everybody will still come in here in this living room and ask me where we're going. Like,
I
no
know.
one's gonna leave until I say where we're going. And it's
I
like,
asked-
it's no longer my decision, guys. Like, I just eat shit like all of you do.
I ask Emily because you're usually like, I don't know. Ask Emily.
Yeah, she's pickier than me.
It's usually you gotta ask the females. But that's
She's
it.
pickier than me, and she has more money than me. So,
We talked about this one a little bit before the show. When I got this question, I knew my answer back then, but obviously it's different now because they're not a part of the roster. If we had to fire somebody on the roster, who would it be? Originally, my answer was Anthony Steele. And it's not because I have an issue with Anthony Steele. He's a decent dude. He's a good wrestler and stuff like that. But first impressions are everything. And I was in here, I was talking to Tommy. It might have been Hayden, but it makes sense because I think Tommy and Hayden were feuding when Anthony was here, right? Mm-hmm. But it makes sense it was Hayden. And we were talking about something. He came in. He's like, hey, my name's Anthony, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, I seen you fuck up that coast to coast doing diagonal in the ring. Like that was the first impression. Like he's like, yeah, I seen you and Jimmy. You fucked up that coast to coast or something like that. Probably not exact words, but it was along those lines. And it was like the first time I'm talking to this guy. I'm like, it's hard to go coast to coast diagonal in the ring. But he's like, yeah, I probably could have done it. Okay, well, who the fuck are you, guy? And like I said, I don't have a problem with him, but that was my first impression of Anthony Steele. Now, my actual answer is who would I fire? Then I would fire you. And let me elaborate, because you're like, fire Fletch, why would you do that? I would eliminate your in-ring. I would fire you from being able to participate in-ring. It's because, as your best friend, as somebody, we're pretty much brothers at this point. Somebody that's been around you forever is like, I know how you feel body-wise. Like we talked about before, like you couldn't get up this morning. Like there's times, I told you, where I was taking a dump and I couldn't get off the toilet. And I'm like, I might have to call Josh. He's the only one that get in my department. I'm not calling my stepmom to come help me. I'm calling Josh. And I got up and then my legs were asleep for sitting on the toilet for so long that I fell in the corner and I was stuck. And I was literally trying to reach in my pocket and get my phone so I could text you. And it's like, hey, I'm fucking stuck. Pants down my ankles. I need help. But I just know how your body feels. With losing Benji, I think a little differently now. So I don't want to fire you from XCW. I'd like to stop you being in the ring.
Mine's a similar answer. I think if there was anybody that I would want to let go in XCW right now, it's Venom. So that he could focus on a mindset of getting himself better to be able to get in there and do the things that he doesn't want to sit at that table. He wants to be out there with everybody else. And it eats me alive to see like that was the guy that we built XCW around for a few years. And he had the potential to continue to still be here and be that giant star. And he let his weight and his situation get out of control. And I know he doesn't want to be at that table. He wants to be out there. And so, like, if I knew that I could be like, all right, you're done. And he would have that mentality of, I've got to get back there and get better. I would do it in a heartbeat. But in reality,
yeah,
I don't think he has the mentality to do it one way or the other. So,
last question before we take our last break. If we had to eliminate a show from XCW's season schedule, like not like eliminate like all the history of the show, but just like get rid of a show, we're not doing it anymore, what show would we pick?
Viewer's Choice Awards.
I was going to say that. I was going to say my instant answer is Viewer's Choice Awards as well. Why do you pick Viewer's Choice Awards? I pick it because like there's just so much time and editing that goes into VCAs, and to be honest, I've never liked VCAs.
I think like since COVID is the only reason I feel this way. Since COVID, like trying to find a location and stuff like that is damn near impossible. And that kind of hinders the show a little bit. It kind of sucks some of that fun. We were able to do it like where my dad's house is. Great. Some of the best shows I've ever blast. But, it was like being able to like, the roster grows, which means the building's got to grow. And it's become more of a hassle to try to continue to make that happen. And I also feel that way because I feel like some of the vets try to purposely cut other people's throats so that they could be on top. And it's not about that. It's everybody's preference. It's what they feel like was the actual best for each of those categories. And back in the day, it used to be a popularity contest, and now it's a pissing contest. And I don't know which one I prefer at this point. It's just a matter, if I feel like I had the best season out of everybody in the show, I mean, and that may be me this year, to be honest. Like, I had a very good year. So, and like, it's up in the air. There's a lot of guys that in the show this year that could be categorized as Superstar of the Year.
Yeah.
It's not down to just one, where a couple of years ago it's like, well, it's broken. It's fucking broken. Or last year it's like, well, it's got to be Hayden or Psychor, right? Like, it has to be. Like, it doesn't... This year's not like that.
Yeah.
This year it's like, well, it could be Blackheart. It could be me. It could be, it could be Brady. It could be Corey. But it becomes
definitely not Evan.
It becomes a pissing contest that everybody wants to fight over, and it's just like, it's not that deep. Like in the situation where Patrick or other people come to me and they're like, oh, well, I've lost 17 straight matches. And it's like, who cares? Wins and losses don't matter as long as you're able to tell your story.
I think there's one season where I lost almost the whole season.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately, completely agree with you. I felt Viewer's Choice from the beginning should have just been like the elite of like people like you have the final say so, and like maybe like you, Roddy, Cynical, me, and Benji.
And that's why we did the 15-year-old.
Yeah, and we both agree on Viewer's Choice, but we're going to cut to one last commercial break, and when we come back, we're going all the way to the end.
This night ain't for the faint of heart, for the faint of heart, for the faint of heart. This night ain't for the faint of heart, 'cause the faint of heart gon' fall apart. Ain't no love when the wicked run. All we do is get laid off. Lay off. We the wicked ones.
And we're back, bringing up another interesting question. A lot of people don't really see us behind the scenes unless like, the camera people's recording No False, or like one of us is a guest on somebody's show and I just happen to show up, but like, we don't argue a lot. And when we do, it's either something about so minor as our...
You changing your theme song? Or?
Oh, the last minor argument we had was, I think we were watching a pay-per-view, and it had to have been WrestleMania or the Royal Rumble. I can't remember because I don't get, usually wrestling pay-per-views are on my weekends at work. But I was here, and it was me, you, ACT, your dad, Emily, Jacoby, and
I want to say it was the Rumble.
Was Bad Bunny in the Rumble?
Yeah.
Okay, because Bad Bunny, you were talking about his music's fucking terrible or something like that.
It is.
And then me and Jaden got on Jack Harlow, which I like Jack Harlow. You've never cared for like you like some rap, but you never cared for like all rap as a whole. Like, I fucking love rap music. I don't like new era rap music very much, but I like Jack Harlow. And you're like, that's not even real fucking music. I'm like, yeah, it is. And you're like, that music fucking sucks. And you went on like some stupid like making up words that were supposed to rap together. And I'm like, oh, I can sound like this. And I'm like making fun of screaming music. That was our last minor argument. Like, that's not even that serious. But that's kind of funny. And Jaden's just like, but the question is, what was our last major argument? Do you know? Because I do.
No.
And it's not even like super major, but like I'd say it's the last big one because we don't have very many big arguments. It was in Writers Chat. Do you remember yet?
No.
All right, so beginning, when we started the Writers Chat, it was me, it was you, it was Mike, and Andy.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were talking about, I was adamant about this is not the argument, but I was adamant about pushing Jesse. And that was like where we're at. We're trying to decide what's going to happen this coming season. I'm like, I believe in Jesse. You were questioning if he could be that main eventer, which Jesse also never knew if he could be that main event guy. I'm like, let's put the ball in Jesse's hand. I came up with I'm like, we should do a cinematic type match, whatever. And then you came out with the Funhouse Grotto. And we're talking and we're talking about Hayden can do this and this can do this. And you're like, well, I don't know about ACT. I'm like, I'm kind of shocked myself. I'm like, well, what do you mean by ACT? Because that was like the year he got hurt a couple times or something like that. And we were talking about, and it probably year he won Money in the Bank. I think it was that year. And you're like, well, we'd always planned and we've been talking about it, that he was going to win Money in the Bank. And you're like, I don't know if I can trust him. And I'm like, obviously I don't remember exact words, but it's paraphrasing. Like I was like, I think you can trust him. Like if we don't. I don't
want people to take it the wrong way. It's not like I can't trust him.
No.
He needs to always come through. Yeah. It was just we were concerned, like he had hurt his ribs and stuff.
Twice.
So, like,
he'd been hurt twice.
We were concerned that like, hey, is his body going to be able to hold up? And he wasn't really feeling that well. Like he'll even tell you he wasn't feeling that well in his progression.
But ultimately, said something about like we gotta do this, or we're gonna we have to push these new guys, or we're losing people at the end of the season. And ultimately, the argument came about of like why I was being so negative or something like that. In all reality, I was really just thinking about the future. And like I literally stopped my fork truck at work. Now, hopefully, no one at work hears this, but stopped my fork truck at work because I was there in the middle. Like I let into you, you let into me. Blackheart and Andy said nothing. They just read the chat. I had this old guy come up at work. His name's Jerry. He's retired since then. He's like, I need to get through. Shut the fuck up, Jerry. I'm texting Josh. You shut the fuck up. I'll move when I'm good and ready. And I finished that message, and you know what came out of the argument?
Jesse won the XO title.
Well, besides that.
Oh, okay.
Me running Twitter.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But do you remember that argument?
Vaguely.
Yeah, but like that was our last major argument.
You also blew me shit about how I should push DJ. How that would work out.
Sometimes you gotta believe in those new guys. Hey, I said Corley was gonna be a failure after I trained him. Look at him now.
Yeah, you're right. So. And we stuck it out with ACT. Look at that. So
he's that baby. He's that next big guy.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's what we did, right? Brady took that big heel leap. So ACT's getting that big baby push.
I think this is the last spicy one, unfortunately.
Okay.
How do I word this? The person asked, why does Fletch talk about people behind their backs?
Who the hell do I talk to? What do I say that I wouldn't say to somebody's face?
I didn't say you wouldn't say anything to their face. I'm just saying they asked, why does Fletch talk about people behind their backs?
I didn't know I did. It's everything that I'll tell you, I'll tell them. So that's not talking behind their back.
He's not talking behind your back, so say it to your face.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Like Jaden Tucker. For the people that were there last night, Hunter Halkin, Jackson Law, we all walked outside of Buffalo Wild Wings, and I let Jaden Tucker's ass have it.
Who do you think deserves a match with you? For me, I actually already answered this earlier. I said I don't think anybody deserves a match, but do I think I'd have awesome matches with people? Hell yeah, I'd have awesome matches. I could have awesome matches with Hayden, Hunter, anybody. But
I have an answer, actually.
But does someone deserve a match with me? No one deserves a match with me. I've done everything I believe I needed to do. Who deserves a match with you?
Julian Voigt Jacobs.
I'm interested. Why's that?
We've never had a one-on-one. Ever.
You've never had a one-on-one with Hayden?
Yes, I have. 2 back-to-back.
One-on-one match?
Yes. His first 2 matches in XW.
Maybe you have hit me in the head awful hard a lot of times, because I don't fucking remember that. Did you? You really wrestled Hayden twice back in the day?
In 2020, yes.
Huh.
And they were bangers, too.
I really don't fucking remember, but You and Void never wrestled one-on-one?
Never.
Interesting. Oh, now we could talk to the board of directors, Fletch, and how about you book it?
Maybe.
I mean, your face?
Yeah.
He's a heel.
Yeah.
It can happen.
It could.
We have 2 holiday shows coming up.
Yeah, maybe. I already have those booked, but yeah, maybe.
Feud that you believe never really got settled and could have, I don't know the word I'm looking for, could have been brought to the next level by finishing out. I think I never really got the closing that the feud with me and Brandon Hobbs. Like, did it end? Yeah, but like...
No, it didn't.
We were in a bad place at that point.
Yeah. A few of them come to my mind. Obviously, Justin and Tommy. Blackheart and Deacon. It ended, but it didn't end the way we wanted it.
Yeah.
Man, I had one too.
Me and Skaggs never got a definitive inning either.
Arcane and Corey Lee.
Yeah.
So there's a few.
Well, sometimes things come up in the wrestling business and you just gotta pivot. So, future plans for the XCW shop.
Before we move on, me and Vapor, where I ended up having a wrestle Matt Chinchell.
Explain this to me because I really don't remember.
2017, he came back as my partner. Ultimately, he ended up kind of costing me the match against...
Is that VK3 stuff?
No.
Okay.
Post. I had lost to Benji. Emily took control of the company. I got fired.
I remember.
And then I kept targeting Vapor. Me and Vapor never got the payoff because Vapor no-showed Halloween Harvest and I wrestled Matt Chinchell.
I remember that now. Opinions? Oh, future plans for XCW shop.
We're just going to continue to put out new merchandise. I know a lot of people, the DJs of the world have asked me, where's my stuff? Well, I keep telling them and anybody who hasn't gotten their answer that's watching this, we're putting them on slowly. We want to have the customer continue to come back to the shop. If you have the same thing on there all the time, or if you post it at once, more than likely you're going to get that person to go on there one time, check it out, maybe buy what they want, and never return.
Yeah.
So, for the ones that go on there and go, damn it, I really wanted that Tommy Merriman shirt, and it's not there. Once that Tommy shirt does post, now they have the opportunity to go back and get that. So it's to keep the visitors coming to the site. The ultimate plan is just to continue to make the revenue off of it so that we can put it back into the brand. As of Friday, we took the money that we just got from shop from the previous orders we've had the last month or two. We took that money and we ordered a brand new custom New Age Championship. That'll be unveiled at the Viewers' Choice Awards.
Well, I could just ask the question on any special announcements we can get ahead of time. That was a question. So you heard what he said. New Age Championship going to be unveiled at Viewers' Choice Awards. I don't run the shop, so I don't have future plans for it. Opinions on your time in other wrestling promotions, and not like the NEWs or the All-Stars I'm talking about. You went and wrestled with Jackson, you've done stuff other places.
So I feel like it's a lot of false promise. There was things that were details that were worked out ahead of time, and then once it came to, those details never came to fruition. I feel like my guys were disrespected that were there. I mean, I have a top tier talent like Corey Lee performing in their ring, and those guys didn't even have the courtesy to be in the room during the match. And they didn't give Corey that respect. And that's crap. I mean, when you talk about XW, you talk about Corey as a top tier guy, period. So there's no reason why anyone should. He is a can't miss superstar. So I overall, I feel like I have the most respect as a booker that anyone else has ever had anywhere. I think I have the most thought out in terms of storytelling and you know, going down to the very small niche of ideas.
Yeah.
I don't feel like a lot of places have that. I just overall, like, from my, I'm not saying that it's off the table, but from my experiences so far, it hasn't been positive.
I don't have any experiences. I've not wrestled with any other companies recently. All that was back in high school with NEWs and
UIW,
IPW Indianapolis. So I've not really done a whole lot since I opted to stick with the homies in the yard. I guess this one's kind of spicy to some people. Who do you have more faith in? Trinity Parker or Blackheart as an editor and all that good stuff? The people want to know.
Trinity has been killing it as the backup,
yeah.
You know, to get us through some of Blackheart's hard times. But when it comes to, you know, setting dates that things have to be out, when it's within his control, I feel like Blackheart has a better reputation of getting me things by due dates, and I know that she's playing catch up, so part of that's not her fault. But we had an incident this past week. She told me, you know, she came here on like a Tuesday night. She told me the show would be done by Sunday. She'd be here. Then she postponed that. I didn't get the show until Tuesday. So it's when Blackheart says you'll have the show by Monday, the show's in the drive. We're ready to go on Monday morning. And so, in that regard, I have more trust in Blackheart.
I've had episodes with Psycore specifically. I think it's the last one we asked about our guilty pleasure songs at that point in time. What is a guilty pleasure song for us now? And obviously, I'll name something else to, listening to post NSYNC Justin Timberlake.
Oh, you're gonna fucking love this. All right.
I've been listening to a lot of R&B recently. When you're scrolling through TikTok, you see like they'll post like America's Got Talent or Dancing with the Stars, something like that. And I seen Jordan Sparks on Dancing with the Stars, and she got to dance to her own fucking song that she did. So I went back and started listening to old R&B, listening to No Air by Jordan Sparks and Chris Brown. So currently,
I might have to look up the song.
Currently, No Air by Jordan Sparks and Chris Brown. That's what I've been listening to. That's what I rolled up to the XCW complex listening to. I like all kinds of music except country. Like, I was forced to listen to country growing up. My parents listen to country. My brother likes country, so like I'll tolerate it when I'm with him. But even like Me and You by Cassie. Like, some people that love R&B like that song, but mostly No Air by Jordan Sparks.
Alright, so I got two right now that are guilty pleasures. I even have them liked in Spotify. I looked them up just to verify the names of the songs, okay?
Hit them up style?
No. Okay, so I think their name is Love. Oh, damn it, now I have to look it up again. I Like Me Better. You know that song?
I don't.
And the other one is She Looks So Perfect by 5 Seconds of Summer, which is like a pop rock band.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I don't know, like a Jonas Brothers type. But I dig those two songs right now.
And like I said, I listen to everything, but country. And like, me and you have been on your grandma's porch singing Casey and JoJo all my life.
I played it at the wedding I just DJ'd.
And I mentioned anything about old song I'm listening to, and then you start singing.
I played Bone Thugs. I played all kinds of stuff.
Hit 'Em Up Style by Blue Cantrell, which is literally a song talks about your boyfriend cheating on you, and you're stealing his credit card information and going out and on a shopping spree. Like,
if your man wanna get buck wild,
call back and hit 'em up style. We just have, especially you, as knowing you for so long, like we just have a good appreciation for music. And for anybody that doesn't know, unless you've cruised around town for 5 hours with Josh without a phone or an iPod, like this man multiple CD cases full of burnt CDs, actual albums. He's got everything. Like, we just cruise around
Jumbo cases that hold like 500. I have 3 or 4 of them, I think.
Big ass fucking case. Cruise around, listen to music. That's one thing we like to do. And we don't mind singing. So, you might catch us singing in the future. Who do you want to work with? And I'm going to say, don't include Boyd in this because we had a previous question. Your Boyd was your answer. I want to see you work with Hunter again. I would really, we talked about, one of my matches of the year candidates, and I told you, I don't even know if this match is nominated, but I'll be highly upset if it's not. You and Hunter at SummerMania fucking killed it.
Who do I want to work with? So I think I would, at this point, other than Void, would most want to work, and it's somebody I've worked with before.
That's one?
JJ on the table.
They weren't specific on how you wanted to work with somebody? Reasoning?
Time's winding down. I'm hurt.
Yeah, you couldn't get up for an hour and a half this morning.
Yep. So that's probably next.
Somebody mentioned it yesterday. I was on the commentating table for Halloween Harvest as of this recording, and I'm saying, Blackheart successfully defending, and I'm like, is it over between these two yet, or something like that? I said something along those lines, and Venom's like, you want a piece of that. I said, what the fuck? A piece of what? He's like, you want some of Hayden. I said, I'm retired. Because people still make jokes all the time, like, I'm retired, I'm not wrestling again. He's like, but if you were. I said, yeah, me and Hayden would fucking kill it. But not just Hayden, but I wouldn't mind working with Blackheart. But something that might surprise people, I would want to work with Miano Diaz. As somebody that's helped him with the cruiserweight stuff he's not really been able to do recently, just because of the feuds that he's been.
I don't know, you did a lot to me.
You're more agile than most bigger guys. But you know me for years, I fucking love cruiserweight stuff. That's why I begged for LOL for a whole year. I just love fucking cruiserweight stuff, and I think me and Miano could do a lot of cool shit. We got to see fucking, I don't know if the move has a name for it, but we got to see the Illuminati off the ladder to Jackson Law, which is fucking brilliant. I fucking loved it. It's something I didn't expect. And I thought Jackson was going to drop him for a second, I'm not going to lie. I was praying, we don't need no Will situation, but
I'll tell you, that ladder match was great.
That move was fucking titties. And I'm talking about giant, big titties, and I love
Money in
titties.
the Bank 2 years in a row have killed. They've been great. So.
I would also obviously want to work with Hunter.
And that's a shout out to Evan, because Evan was actually the one controlling the Money in the Bank. So kudos to him for that.
There's a lot of people I want to work with, but as of deserving, I don't want to come back and have to do that thing all over again. We already talked about what was going to be revealed. I said anything else you can reveal to the people?
Nope.
Okay. Keeping it tight-lipped. Excluding, I guess this is kind of the same question twice. Excluding the XAWA guys, FWL guys, or people from other promotions. If there was no Viewers' Choice Awards where we voted people in, who would you put in Hall of Fame at the end of this year? That's not in there. You have a better memory of people that aren't in the Hall of Fame. So I will let you answer.
Boy, that's tough.
I think Gabe. I think I would vote
Gabe's
for.
in it.
Is he in XUW Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Also EBW Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Boy, that's tough.
It is. About Aaron.
Maybe.
I don't think we have any referees in the Hall of Fame, do we?
I don't believe so. This will sound kind of weird. Yeah, I guess you can't go by. It's hard.
Can't go by their tenure.
Usually we go by people that
Been here a long time?
No, people that were expecting that would actually come,
Yeah.
to the events, and like accept.
I do
the
know.
honor.
I do know my answer now that you started talking. It's probably the same as my answer now.
What?
I've been petitioning this since season 1 of No False. I think Justin Parsley deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Mine is probably, man, I don't know. That's
I'll give you a little longer to think. For the people at home wondering why I think Justin Parsley should be in the Hall of Fame, even though he's only been here for like this year, it's like, I think since XCW's been the longest running backyard company that we know of, people that had a big impact on backyard wrestling in general are a consideration. I know you would have done it without him, but with you and Justin and the BYWE scenario, not liking what was going on in BYWE, ultimately starting XCW with Dylan and Benji, led to the kingdom that we have now. Without Parsley, I wouldn't be wrestling. You wouldn't have met me. He had a big impact, I think, in backyard wrestling. Not necessarily of the people wrestling in XCW, but overall, big impact in the backyard scene.
I would probably have to say Rob Slater.
He's actually been on the ballot a couple times. Yeah. Why good old Robbie?
I just feel like no matter where he was, whether he's in HCW, BYWE, XCW, he always worked as a top guy.
Never beat me.
And so, respectfully so, I feel like he brought a lot to the table in his small tenures within the company. But there's a few guys like Carnage. A lot of the dedication and stuff that he put in his early years in XW. He's also very deserving.
Yeah, and like it's not limited to like just wrestlers. Like as I mentioned, like we have announcers in the Hall of Fame. Like Logan was a big referee for a while. Just like for a long time, Aaron was a big dedicated referee. That's kind of dwindled off in the recent years because of the specific job he has. But like maybe Aaron down the road. But I think Parsley or like Carnage made me think about Logan. I think Logan, he was pretty.
I know he was presented with the Honor Award one year.
Yeah, he was pretty. He was pretty.
And even with him, I think
he was.
I'll be honest, the most dedicated referee I think we've ever had in XCW history. Period.
Logan?
It's Festus.
Oh, Festus. Yeah. Festus has been here, rain, sleet, hail, snow.
He's driven to shows on a scooter in the freezing fucking rain. I mean, that dude's got some dedication.
And we actually have Festus on in a couple episodes later on in the season, so that'll be something to definitely watch. Now, who do you think is going to be the first person from another promotion that wrestles in XCW to get to the Hall of Fame? So, you got the Haydens, the Blackhearts, the Jays, the JJs, the Jacksons, the anybody else that's wrestled in XCW has been a part of another promotion. Who do you think is the first one that goes in? Like, not by vote, like if you picking that person.
Justin Parsley.
Okay. I guess he was part of another. I guess you got me. You got me.
Next to him, number one in my mind is Hayden Vex. No one has accomplished and done the things he did in 3 seasons.
And as we get to our last,
well, I guess 2. He's 2023 would be 3rd.
When we get to our last question here, plans for next year and the future for you and me, I guess.
Continue to keep the stories innovative, keep the surprises coming, keep all the guys healthy, keep them in the program. That includes myself. Just keep everybody happy, healthy, and continue to strive to make. I don't care what anybody says. I know our views don't reflect it. I mean, I've been to UWA. I've worked CBW. I've watched and posted FWL and UIWs and IBWs and all these different companies all over, I feel like in regards of production, talent quality, everything overall, we're untouchable.
Oh, I see what you did there. And like a lot of that could be affected just like stupid technical analysis, like YouTube's algorithm and all that stuff. Yeah. So it doesn't get out there to everybody, but
I mean, I know I'm tooting my own horn and putting myself over, but I just feel like, and it's not just me, like typically in performance, like I'm the bottom of the barrel usually. So, and I mean, in regards of like, me putting people over, or I'll put myself in the bottom of a storyline to progress somebody else, you know. So, but I just think with the dedication, the hard work, the production, and the talent value, we are undervalued as a brand more than any other company on YouTube. So
I can agree. As for me personally, obviously I don't do much on the XCW side for the most part. We have talked kind of privately about certain aspects of my future. I've been asked to go as media to a few big video game events next year. One being the Super Bowl of E3, the Entertainment Expo, so that's pretty big.
Yeah, you need to take me with you.
I mean, if you got money, I'm sure I can sneak you in there. I'm nervous enough because I'm going there with people, but I'm going there by myself. Like, I'm going there to meet people. Like, I have to schedule my own place.
Then you need me.
I do need somebody. Like, I went to Missouri and I was nervous as fuck. I never flew.
I'm just going to go hang out with Xavier, Kofi, and Big E.
They'll be there. I've never flew before. When I went to Missouri, I never flew. But I had a place to stay when I got there. I had people coming to pick me up. And, like, none of those details...
Where's it at?
Chicago? California. E3's California.
Okay.
But, like, none of those details have been worked out yet. So, like... I might have to do all that stuff myself, and that's something I've never done as an adult. Just like I was nervous about my first big vacation, which was Missouri by myself. It's like, obviously the nerves are going to affect me, but I've been getting more ingrained in this video game community, more involved and stuff like that, that we had talked about. I'm not going to reveal too much, but I'll be participating like 5, 6, or 7 video game events next year, and just writing a lot more. But we were at Taco Bell a couple weeks ago. But might be, I'll just give a little teaser because we haven't ironed out anything yet, but there might be something special coming to XCW All Access, XCW Extras soon, involving me and Jaden ACT. So, stick around for that. We'll see what that is. But, Season 6 premiere episode 1. Got the Fletch, Hall of Famer, the man behind the scenes. I think we spilled pretty much everything there was to spill. And I went through every question I got, whether dumb or stupid, but kind of got a little insight into us, marriage, who we want to wrestle, who we would wrestle, who deserves to wrestle, all that stuff. Happy you joined me once again, because
one more person I need to work with.
Oh, who's that?
He's the monster.
Oh, Jacoby. Speaking of that, I know he's good. I'm pissed off at Jacoby. Let me tell you this. I might have been the first person to put you over. I got you your gear for Christmas. I did your wish of a dark match. But let me tell you something, Jacoby. The little bastard, putting the JWF title on the line against everybody but me. I was the first person, to start doing this dumb shit. And I didn't even get a JWF title shot. I'm pissed.
Technically, Brady didn't either.
Okay. I'm less mad. But, everybody else gets a JWF title. We told Jacoby he could win the EBW title. He just had to let me hit him with a weapon.
We did.
He wouldn't agree to it. I'm not going to kill the kid. I might hit him. But I'm not going to kill him. But anyways, this might be the last time we see you this season, so I'm glad to have you on here for the Q&A in case we don't see you. But join us next time, ladies and gentlemen. We have none other than someone that once he was royal. Matt Hazard. He's also been known as the Alpha. Now, the natural born killer, Hayden Vex. See you for episode 2.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste our time then. Killing the game and I gotta go ask anybody, they all heard about it. They know when the kid and he's spitting it, know when he get in it, bit and I get in my way. Got this, I like do whatever I say, cause I could go put you on blast. People been mad at me cause I don't follow them back. I'm laughing cause that is so whack. Why they all trying to act like they been bossing when really their boss has been bossing them up? Nobody ever been telling me what I would do when I keep in the cash for the shit out of luck. Ayy.
Funny how it goes, funny how it goes. Talking about shit they don't even know. Why they tryna tell me about what I should do? They don't know about the shit I've been through. It ain't what it seems, it ain't what it seems. Been 4 years, I've been chasing dreams. This ain't overnight, this ain't overnight. Working every night till the sunrise.